Glad you could come along. We are joined, as always, by Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a James Beard Award nominee. The group including GBD and DuPont Circle, Red Apron, 2 locations at Union Market, which I'm looking forward to seeing for the first time at Snallygaster. If I don't get there ahead of time, also Union Market in Merrifield, Virginia. Greg, it is always good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What is on tap this week?
So this week, we have one of my absolute, if not my most favorite, French beer. It's called Cuvée de Jonquilles, the Cuvée of the daffodil, and it is from a really, really cool place. It's called Au Baron, which is attached to Ballieu, a restaurant and little tiny nano brewery in the northern French countryside. This is one of those amazing beers that it's hard to find in Belgium or in France. So when I see some of it here, Shelton Brothers Imports brings it in as they bring in many of the best beers in the world. Yep, Cantillon. I mean, they bring in some of the best. Very good friends of ours, and they discovered this and insisted on having it. They get minuscule amounts at a time, but it's definitely one worth kind of hunting for and seeking out. It is from a restaurant that was begun in 1989. Actually, some Belgians moved down over the border, past Wallonia into Noord-Pas-de-Calais, which is the northern French region that borders Belgium. And they opened this restaurant, and then more recently started brewing at the restaurant, producing very small amounts of just a handful of beers, and this is kind of their flagship, amazing with food, of course. This is what we would call today a farmhouse ale or a saison. However, if you look on the label, you see it says Bière de Garde, French farmhouse ale. And so this is one of the fun things to talk about with the beer, is that the terms Bière de Garde and saison oftentimes mean very different things today, but once upon a time meant very similar things. So first let's taste it, and we'll see kind of how saison-y it is.
Very inviting.
Great.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Amazing beer. Great malt character. So you've got this kind of, it's blonde in color, so you get like a bright, bready, toasted malt sweetness up front, but then it dissipates into a really gentle, kind of earthy, drying bitterness in the finish. So it's actually dry, but with early malt sweetness. And the nose is Telltale Saison. You do get some malt in the nose, but you've got that kind of earth, that rustic grass hay, character, a little bit of white pepper, even some fruity notes, almost like citrus and white wine grape coming through. So a kind of classic saison.
But not saison-y, really.
Though. No, it's not overly so. Not overly so. Not as dry nor as rustic in the nose as you'd expect. It's a little bit gentler. For sure.
Not that a nice, healthy saison taste is a bad thing. I'm
not
suggesting that at all. But
it's a little bit. Yeah, it's got a little bit. It does veer away a little bit, which makes it very interesting. At the same time, it is certainly not a Bière de Garde as we know it today. So today, saisons are typified by something like this, or by like DuPont saison. Typically dry. A really great fermentation quality from excellent yeast that's fermented very warm in the nose. So you're expecting, earth and funky kind of farmhouse characteristics there, pepper and fruit. Whereas Bière de Garde today is a reinvented style from the 1950s. It's actually more like a Bock lager in quality and character and flavor than it is like a saison. They tend to be malt driven. They tend to be a little bit fruity, but not over the top. And they tend to be kind of rich and clean because they're actually lagered or guarded. They're kept to become clean out over time. But once upon a time, the terms saison and Bière de Garde were synonymous. So really, you think about the people of southern France, northern France and southern Belgium, French speakers all. They were once one and the same kind of people,
before people were drawing lines on a map.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so with Belgium's independence in the 1830s, it got cut in half. But even still, you'd have very similar farm-driven beers being brewed on the farms of the countryside of southern Belgium and northern France. World War I did a number, obviously, on the whole region. And what you saw after that was a lot of lager producers kind of moving into northern France. And so as even some of the family breweries that stuck around continued, they started to alter their once saison-y bière de gardes to be a little bit more lager-like in some ways. And also they became a little bit more kind of like just standard strong Belgian-y as well. So that's where a divide happened. But what's cool is that you see here, it's kind of a history note. They're still referring to it as bière de garde, but it's bière de garde in the old sense.
Okay. I mean, if I see this on the shelf, I'm going to buy one.
Yes.
At least. So that's about the highest praise I can get. You know what I mean? And I've done that
Seal of
many
approval.
a time over the... We're coming up close on 100 beers of the week.
Really?
In another 5 or 6, so we're not quite there yet. What would you pair this with?
I mean, we always
Really
say the
versatile,
saison's
right?
the best. It goes with everything,
I mean,
yeah. And especially this one, while dry, is not super bitter, so we don't have to worry about it overwhelming more delicate flavor. So you can run the gamut, from your seafood up front. Obviously great with chicken. Herb chicken is fantastic. Chicken on the grill. But also, I had this recently actually with with Thai like takeout. It's awesome with that. You think about like classic Thai flavors. You've got lemongrass, got some chili, basil, cilantro, all working in nicely with the aromatics we get here. We've got great effervescence, a little bit of dryness, washes away the heat. So it's great. Yeah, pad Thai, drunken noodles, you name it.
Now, last week's beer, Cantillon, I was looking at the label, and it says store and serve at cellar temperature. So they don't want you to even ever put it in the refrigerator.
Yes.
And we have a question this week from Adam Wingard, a longtime and faithful Beer of the Week listener/viewer, and of course it just went off the screen. But basically what he's asking is, he has some beer he's laying down in his cellar, in his basement, and he has some beers, KBS, Mother Earth, Silent Night, in his refrigerator. And he wants to move them. He wants to know if it's a good or bad idea to take the ones out of the refrigerator and move them downstairs.
I mean, I never want to be the one to be like, do this or that, because if I'm wrong, then I'm in trouble. But and also, I hesitate to take it overly serious, in some ways. But I would say that the refrigerator is not the place you ever want to keep beers that you want to age, ever. The fridge is great for IPAs, Pilsners, Kolsch's, things that you're going to put in, keep them cold, you're going to drink them cold. Typically, you're going to let them come down a little bit in temp, or up in temp, I should say, afterwards, because it's a little bit cold when they come out. But the reason for this is that refrigerators actually are dark. The light does go off when you close it. But they're designed to be dry. You don't want moisture because it spoils food, But dryness is tough with beer, especially if they're corked.
Like this one.
Like this one, the cork can dry up, allowing things in. Oxidation can happen, things like that. A lot of that stuff will go on, and this can also happen with caps too. It can dry out. The seal can come off. So just stay away from the fridge for beers you want to ever lay down. In this case, I would say those beers probably are going to be great if you drank them right now. So maybe if they're not too many, I would say just go ahead and drink those. They're probably, just in case if you put them down into the proper humidity of your cellar in the darkness, something may happen to them. I'm not sure if it would, but in the future, if you're aging, definitely not in the fridge. I'd almost say to rather have it like just on your counter than in the fridge, because at least that way, you're going to have some moisture. It won't be as dry.
All right. Adam, drink away. You got your excuse. If
Exactly.
you really needed one.
Just drink him.
If you've got a question, I hope that helped. If you've got a question for Greg, you can let us know. Send it along. The email address is beeroftheweek@WTOP.com. Greg, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, please always do drink responsibly, and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another Beer of the Week.